Hello, welcome, and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Episode 4, Part 2 of Kaz's Fighter Jet Roundtable Tournament. We have 4 more aircraft to get through today from some new faces as well as some old favorites. Let's go ahead, zoom on down to the watchtower, and see what they have in store for us today. So on Team A, we have the AFX-106 Mirage, sent in by none other than Jim and Saw, making a triumphant return after his 105 got very intimately acquainted with the ground in its final match. Everybody was sad to see that, except perhaps for Android Elite, whose plane has now moved on. However, now we get to see what Jim and Saw have planned for us today in the form of the Mirage. It is using the J-10 cockpit, which is another Chinese-inspired aircraft cockpit. It's also using a very similar design philosophy to the 105, except much easier on the part count, and it looks more sleek as well, which goes to show that Jim and Saw has not been, well, Jim at least has not been holding out here. We also have the first use of, well, not the first use, but a continuation of the use of the AA-13 Arrow missile. These are radar-guided missiles, good for long range, not very fast, not very agile, but they will provide a decent distraction for the enemy aircraft. And as the other one was as well, it is also powered by a Product 30 engine, and it has a nice wide landing gear stance, which I always like, mostly because it's very, very stable, much easier to land, and it doesn't bounce around and rock, which is always important, as we found out last time. Hopefully we won't have many more of those going on. Either way, it's also running with some 4 Sidewinder missiles, which means it's got that, and I'm willing to bet those are Mausers. They are indeed Mausers. So we've got a typical loadout of 6 missiles, 2 30mm guns, and a dual-engine setup. We're going to have some interesting fight from this aircraft. It promises to be better than the 105. I sure hope so. In any case, let's head on over to Team B. And over here on Team B, we have the KF-15 Diamondback Gen 2, sent in by actual Kerbal Fury. Last episode, I mistakenly said that WaffleTech Gamma's design was sent in by Kerbal Fury. That, luckily, I put the correct name in the titles. Either way, this is actually a design sent in by Kerbal Fury. So let's go ahead and take a look at what the real man himself has sent for us. Again, it is a dual-engine design. Dual Saturns seems to be very popular. 6 Sidewinder missiles are they typical, just regular Sidewinders, not AIM-9Xs. Very sleek-looking aircraft. A little boxy on the sides, probably to make sure that it's got a decent reflection for the radar cross-section, if I had to guess. Using the standard air-to-ground radar, which that's again a bit of an interesting choice. They're allowed to use the ASEA radar. Either way, aircraft looks very small, very sleek, and with those control surfaces layered in the back like that, it's going to have a lot of control authority, especially with the thrust vectoring coming from those very powerful Saturn engines. I would expect this thing to strike very quickly like a snake. But snakes are not known for their flying capabilities, so we'll have to see if this Diamondback aircraft will be able to take down something it can't quite see. Well, enough interesting nameplay by me. Let's get to the watchtower and get these things into the air for round 1. And with the engines running, we are now ready to commence round 1 of part 2 for episode 4. Let's go ahead and activate the competition and watch these planes tear ass into the air. Not to show favoritism on the part of me, but again, I am really rooting for Jim and Saw's designs. The guy has really just... He has poured his heart and soul into every aircraft that he has sent in, and he continues to come back. He was just devastated when the 105 crashed into the ground. It really should have won that fight. However, with a little more tweaking... In any case, here come the arrow missiles, causing the Diamondbacks to run in fear of the Mirage. Arrows are very high and trying to track, not particularly successful in doing so, moving very, very slowly, scaring this Diamondback away. And they arc and slam into the ground. Looks like we have some AIM-9s firing. I'm going to go ahead, since the first pass is done, and we'll zoom in on Mirage, see how it's doing. Launches a Sidewinder, looks like it's tracking quite well, and a hit! Mirage just... the Mirage unleashing a barrage of missiles, and now a barrage of gunfire into one of those Diamondbacks. That Diamondback looks like it's out of the fight completely. Let me check. Oh yeah, there's nothing left in there but the cockpit. Little Thomney Kerman. I hope he can land. In any case, we're now back over here checking out the Diamondback. And just like that, we have a Mirage taken out. And this Mirage lines up and slams the other Diamondback with another missile. Man. That was vicious. Oh, man. We are in for some good fights, ladies and gents. So... Though we did happen to lose one Mirage, it looked like probably to a missile because it just evaporated and I didn't see it crash. I think we're going to have to say that the Mirage well, not single-handedly, the Mirage has certainly won round 1. Let's see if it can pull out a victory for round 2. Definitely not a plane to be trifled with or taken lightly. And we're back for round 2. Yada yada, start competition, go! And I'm telling you, that was some very... Uh-oh, that looked like we had a very minor collision. Yep, we've lost a single vertical control surface. I'm going to go ahead and give them the benefit of the doubt that they can fly just fine without all of that. But if it does turn out to be a major issue, we will restart. So we are on the neutral observer again, just to make sure that we don't have any favoritism going on. The arrow missiles launch high into the sky as the Mirages now zoom back in. Oops. Don't want to do that just yet. Hey, maybe we can watch the missiles come in. They are tracking, but not very well. And into the ground it goes. Kaboom! And with those missiles out of the way, let's look at the Mirage over here. This is the damaged one. Luckily it has plenty of control surfaces, so I'm not sure that loss of that vertical is going to hurt it that badly. Diamondback just hemorrhaging flares, trying to make sure it keeps those missiles off of it, and just like its predecessor, the Mirage is able to turn very nicely. See a double missile launch at this other Mirage from the Diamondback. Man, both these planes are just whipping around. I love it. I really do love to see this kind of... Oh, we've got good locks. And we have enormous amounts of lag. We have an explosion. The Diamondback has been taken out. I'll have to look back at the footage later to see what it might have been, but my guess is a missile. Again, solo Diamondback here against two Mirages. And a missile slides in from behind, just dealing a real number, that Diamondback, taking out the nose cone. It's still got an engine, although it's just dancing between the tracer fire of those two Mirages. They're working together as a beautiful team now, right behind the other. Look at this. I love this stuff. Still firing with those tickle cannons. Although, looks like the tickle cannons have managed to score a kill. Interesting. That might be the first Vulcan kill of the tournament. And without the wings to keep it stable, that Mirage is gonna have some problems. Or the Diamondback could sacrifice itself to the ground gods by litho breaking. Either way, it seems the victor for the first of today's fights is the Mirage. Congratulations, Jim and Saw, you're moving to the semis again. So here we are for the second round of fights today. Let's go ahead and take a look at these aircraft. We're going to have some interesting fights from this pair. I can feel it in my bones. So, over here is an aircraft that really doesn't need much of an introduction. Anybody who's been participating in Fighter Jet Showdown for a while knows the name Shiden. These two aircraft, and they are different, are sent in by none other than Max Light, one of Team Masters, and part of the team that won Fighter Jet Showdown Season 5 along with myself. These aircraft are different, however, than the ones that participated in that tournament. They are smaller, faster, more sleek, and far more deadly, along with several new upgrades. This one here, the AC Shiden F00 Art, has, looks like a tiny little weapon UAV down here. This is one of the first times that Max Light has actually dabbled in such a thing, so it should prove to be somewhat entertaining. Now, I don't feel quite as bad about more drones showing up, because after all, this aircraft is piloted by a Kerbal. As a matter of fact, it just happens to have a UAV that's kind of helping it along, like an adorable little Doom pet. So, we also have AIM-9X Sidewinders and PL-10E missiles on this thing, and only 4 because it does have that minimum missile count with the special weapon, and they have split their firepower between 2 Mausers, one on the UAV and one on the main craft. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the second one and make it fairly brief. They all are powered by engines here. Well, of course they're powered by engines, Kaz. Durr! These are all WS-10 engines. This one over here has a total of 3. This one has a total of 4. This is the hunter-killer of the pair, and we can definitely see that. They are outloaded with 2 pulse lasers, which means these are replacing half the missile count and the gun, making this an incredibly deadly dogfighter. I can already see how this pair is going to be working together. The Wildcats are definitely going to have their work cut out for them, going up against these aircraft. In any case, let's get over to Team B and take a look at the Wildcat. So here we are at the Wildcat Type 12 FJR variant sent in by TA Echo. This is a new face among the competition. The first time they've submitted to FJR, as far as I'm aware, they are a friend of none other than Android Elite. And this design, as I believe, was actually inspired by his designs. So let's go ahead and take a look, and it definitely has that Android Elite look to it, with this interesting looking fin here, these air brakes that in any kind of a real plane would get burned off by the engine exhaust. Down here we have the interesting looking cone air take, shock cone intake, as well as use of some old school B9 parts. I haven't seen the use of B9 parts like this in a very long time. I am a big fan of B9 parts, but usually the newer variants, not the older ones. Just out of a personal preference. There's certainly nothing wrong with the older ones, and it's always nice to see a little bit of nostalgia making its way into these kinds of craft. So again, they are being powered through the air by those Product 30 engines, and unlike the predecessors, they are hauling 3 nasty arrow missiles in addition to AIM-9 Sidewinders, with a 3 to 4 count on those. so we're going to have a lot of distraction potential from these aircraft. They are also outloaded with the Mausers that seem to be a favorite choice. Admittedly, they are probably my favorites too, although I do like the GSH-30s. So these aircraft, however, unlike the other two, are identical. So we're going to see some interesting fights today, that's for sure. Will Shiden be able to overcome this newcomer with old school technology? Well, we'll just have to get into the fights and find out. Alright, aircraft are ready, and competition is ready to start. Camera tools set and locked. Let's get them into the air. Just off the bat, we can see that the Shidens are much lighter than the Wildcats, and with those with the large number of engines, they are powering their way into the air first. So, again, as has been stated many times before, the takeoff speed can be adjusted in the AI pilot, so that doesn't really mean much of anything. Either way, we can see that both are now climbing to similar sorts of altitudes, which is to somewhat be expected, really. Most aircraft seem to hover around these sorts of heights. Not uncommon to see very similar heights. It's actually more interesting to see a lower pair and a higher pair. Right now, the teams are getting into position, and the competition is starting. And it looks like the Wildcats have gotten their shot off first with those arrows. And some AIM-9s are now streaking in. Looks like we have the aim assist probe. Interesting enough. I wonder what that actually stands for. Very cool. We have our little weapon UAVs. Oh, and we have a kill immediately on one of the Wildcats from an AIM-9. Very cool. Shidens are still trying to avoid those arrows, which are creeping up on them. That said, though, this little weapon UAV seems keen on taking the fight to them, and since the first missiles have been fired, let's go ahead and follow this little friend and see what it's got in store for these Wildcats. Looks like that Wildcat did, in fact, get hit very hard by that missile. And we have this adorable little thing. Look at this thing! It's so tiny! We have guns firing from something. Is it the Wildcat? It is, in fact, the Wildcat on one of the Shidens. Looks like it's... Oh, it's on the tail! Jeez, the Shiden was so close to getting just shredded by that 30mm fire. The Shiden is a very fast, very nimble aircraft. A deadly dogfighter, and we can see blue streaks zipping by the camera as this one lines up with its pulse lasers. Looks like it's only got the one. May have gotten clipped off by a missile or a shot of some kind. That Wildcat is on the ground. This one, uh-oh. Just heard some collision sounds. Whoa! Missile streaks in. We have lag. And the Wildcat just evaporates. Jeez Louise. Alright, with this one on the ground, and this one basically nothing but a flying cockpit that's not going to be able to do much. Oh, looks like the weapon UAV got taken out. This Shiden, however, still trying to assert its dominance on the Wildcat there. Speaking of which, looks like this Shiden has had better days. Either way, we have a Shiden victory for round one. Let's get into round two. So after a Shiden victory in round one, let's get these planes into the air for round two. After that fantastic showing, I'm not honestly sure what I'm expecting. Both of these aircraft are quite capable. Although, in my personal opinion, I think the Shiden might be a little more so. That doesn't necessarily mean anything, though, especially if it comes down to missile kills. After all, missile kills don't really rely on the airframe too much, just on the capability of the missiles. And the airframe really matters when it comes down to gunfights and other close-range types of things. Once again, we have the Wildcats launching their arrows at close range. Well, not close range, launching their arrows. And the arrows are turning around. We have AIM-9X's streaking in. Looks like they're getting distracted by flares. Those arrows are way out in the back. Another AIM-9X coming in from long range. Getting close. Oh, and we have a Wildcat getting absolutely just shredded by a long-range AIM-9X. And we have our little buddy, the assist probe, coming in to try and clean up. Not that there's much to clean up at that point. And the other Wildcat looks like it was taken out by a missile in the blink of an eye, and I missed it. Shame on me. However, that might be the single fastest round I can remember for just about anything. That looks like we have our winner for this round. Things, it appears, are going to be going to the Shiden. Well, the Shiden and its pair, as well as its little friend. Either way, that's going to be it from me for today. You have your winner, and you have all 4 aircraft that are now heading into the semifinals, or the round of 4. Place your bets, folks. Things are about to get very interesting. Either way, that's it for me today. I've been Kaz. Have a great day.